Hey, welcome to Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. So if you have a Kirby vacuum, you're probably familiar with this lever here. It goes between drive and neutral. And if you've had it for any time, you've probably had to have this replaced or had it fall out. Now let's take a closer look at what the pedal is and why this problem happens. So a lot of people have this happen where it just falls out like so, and then they try to put it back in and then it doesn't work. Well, why does that happen? That's what I want to talk about. So on the right, I have a Generation 4, and this would also apply to a Generation 3. This part was made to the factory and design specifications originally developed in the late 80s and the early 90s. On the right, I have a Generation 4, and here is the serial number for you guys curious. It's a 1993. And it's A-OK. And it was made to the original specifications when they designed the G3 in the 1980s. So there's a couple differences here. So internally, we can see that the metal is a different color. It's kind of irrelevant, but you can also tell that the metal is just different, the way that it was cast. I don't know if you can, it's going to show on camera, but there are casting marks on the inside that are different. So this appears to be some sort of pot metal. I'm curious if it's magnetic. So this is magnetic. Yep, this is not magnetic. So there is a huge difference in what kind of metal. So apparently this is aluminum or some sort of non-ferrous metal. So that is huge that this is a cast steel, and it looks like this was machined, or at least very least cleaned up pretty well afterwards. So, and then that's pressed into, the shafts look like they're the same material, but it's pressed on with the spline here. Now, if we look right and left, the G4 was the first one that had this pedal that moved like this. The G3, this was a solid piece. I'm not really sure there was a huge difference, but we don't see the G4s and the G3s falling apart like we do G5 through current models. So that's a difference. Right there. Next, let's talk about one of the things it's actuating. So I have here, and this one on the left, I guess I should note, this would be from 2009 or newer. It's to a G10, probably a lot newer than that. And we can see that the arm has a square, this should be like P-shaped, worn out. We can see that this one has a lot of wear on it, but very little has worn out about it. So let's take a look. All right, that is magnetic. Yep, they're both magnetic. So these are stamped steel, presumably, or some sort of alloy, but it is ferrous metal. So that means, again, different heat treating probably, and there's a different corrosion finish. This apparently is blued or something like that. So this is a much harder metal than this, and that's why these guys wear out in conjunction. So those are the differences mechanically. Now, if you're wondering how all this sits in, we'll just talk about that real quick and what that actually actuates, because I have the transmission right here. So what this is doing is actuating this, and that arm moves this back and forth. Let's go ahead and I'll insert this real quick and show you how that does. Now, this is not my machine. It's actually in for service, so we're going to give it its proper greasing. And a lot of people don't know, but these Kirbys, they really do need a lot more maintenance than traditional vacuums, or I guess newer vacuums. And just a little bit right there. So give it some lube. In all the right areas. All right, so now it's lubed up. Oops. I'll show you how this all goes in. Like so. That's gonna go in. One of the other horrible things they did is, I say horrible, it's actually a really good thing. One of the other things they did is they went from Phillips to torques, which makes a lot more sense. All right, that has been put together via spec, and you can now watch how that, you can see how that interacts. So that's neutral, and then when you drive, it's going to move that gear set that way, and excellent. And that's what actuates the transmission. So that is the pedal there. Just wanted to show this all assembled, but still kind of open, of how this lever works. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. Notice there's no clicking when I move that back and forth. Yeah, so there should be no clicking when it's in neutral, and then in drive, that will be quite stiff. So that's how it should act when it's working fine. And again, the G3s and the G4s never had the issue. If you're watching this, I'm sure you have a newer than G5 Kirby, which has had this issue, because again, they changed the part to not be correct to the factory specifications. So if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. That helps us out a whole lot. If you really enjoy vacuum cleaners, go ahead and give us a follow. Lots of good stuff in the description. And I'll try to link to the parts in the description, but you really should have a professional put it in. I'm not liable if you take your machine apart. Have yourself a wonderful day.